Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we are going to discuss the important news appearing in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 28 July 2019. The news to be discussed has been presented on the screen, and time-stamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So let's start our today's discussion with a prelims question of 2019. Now today we shall discuss a prelims question of 2019 with respect to Article 142. The question asked was, with reference to the Constitution of India, prohibitions or limitations or provisions contained in ordinary laws cannot act as prohibitions or limitations on the constitutional powers under Article 142. It could mean which one of the following? See, although the language of this particular question seems to be a bit complex, but in this you simply had to know about Article 142 of the Indian Constitution. And Article 142 of the Indian Constitution pertains to Supreme Court. And if you even have gone through the options of this question, there were four options. One of the options pertained to Election Commission, the second option pertained to Supreme Court, the third option pertained to financial emergency, whereas the fourth option pertained to state legislatures. Now, as you can see, this particular provision was discussed in Daily News Simplified dated 10th March 2018, and this particular article was discussed in reference to Supreme Court upholding passive euthanasia. So it was in this DNS video where we discussed with respect to the inherent powers of Supreme Court under Article 142 very clearly, stating that Supreme Court with respect to passive euthanasia invoked their inherent power under Article 142 to grant legal status to its advance directives with respect to a will until Parliament enacts legislations on the matter. And Article 142 says enforcement of judgments of Supreme Court through the territory of India. So here again, if you go through the options, it says that the Supreme Court of India is not constrained in the exercise of its powers by laws made by Parliament. So by going through the DNS dated 10th March 2018, we understand that in this particular question, B was the correct answer with respect to Article 142. Now this question may appear as one of the very direct question with respect to provision of the Constitution. However, you must understand that every question asked by the UPSC is in perspective of some background information. And here in this particular question was asked with respect to Supreme Court's inherent power under Article 142 with respect to its direction passed with respect to passive euthanasia. So here B was the correct answer with respect to Article 142. With this, let's start our daily news discussion. The first news appears on page number 1 and also appears as a continuation on page number 10. It says Finance Ministry as well as NITI Aayog guidelines were ignored with respect to airport privatization. It further says that Adani gained as curb on numbers experience norm set aside. So just by going through the headlines, we understand that NITI Aayog and Ministry of Finance had recommended certain criteria with respect to privatization of airports. However, such criteria has been rejected by this particular committee, that is Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee with respect to privatization of airports. Now, two key recommendations which were not accepted by this Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee of the government was with respect to putting a cap on a particular private entity with respect to having more number of airports. So the Ministry of Finance and NITI Aayog said that a particular private entity should not get more than 2 airports for privatization or for developments. And further, both Ministry of Finance and NITI Aayog also emphasized on the prior experience with respect to such privatization of airports. So it is based on these parameters that this particular news has appeared in today's newspaper. Now there are two backdrops to this particular news. One is with respect to a cabinet decision of 8th November 2018 and the other is with respect to another cabinet decision with respect to 3rd July 2019. And this cabinet decision of 3rd July 2019 is in a continuation of the cabinet decision dated 8th November 2018. So let's go through both these cabinet decisions in the backdrop of suggestions provided by Ministry of Finance and NITI Aayog and try to understand that what this news actually suggests. As you can see, this particular detail is with respect to Cabinet Note of 8th November 2018 and we have taken this from PIB, that is Press Information Bureau. It says that the Cabinet approves leasing out 6 airports, namely Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Lucknow, Guwahati, Thiruvananthapuram, and Mangaluru through PPP, that is, Public Private Partnership. Now, the cabinet note said that the Union Cabinet chaired by the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has approved the following. First, in principle approval for leasing out 6 airports, namely Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Lucknow, Guwahati, Thiruvananthapuram, and Mangaluru, for operation, management, and development under public private partnership through Public Private Partnership Appraisal Committee. So basically, the cabinet note of 8 November 2018 suggested that 6 airports of the Government of India were to be given to private entities under public-private partnership with respect to operation, management and development through this Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee. So it suggested that based on the recommendation of this Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee, these airports with respect to operation, management and developments were to be given to private entities. Now this cabinet note also created a empowered group of secretaries, and this empowered group of secretaries was to be headed by CEO of NITI Aayog along with Secretary of Ministry of Civil Aviation, Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs and Secretary of Department of Expenditure. And this empowered group of secretaries were to decide on any issue falling beyond the scope of Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee. So whatever issues which were falling beyond the scope of this appraisal committee were to be decided by the empowered group of secretaries. So it is in this backdrop that Finance Ministry and NITI Aayog recommended not to award same private player more than 2 airports out of a total of 6 airports to be privatized. And it is here where both the NITI Aayog and Ministry of Finance also emphasized on prior experience of the private entity with respect to airport privatization. However, the Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee rejected both the recommendations of Ministry of Finance and NITI Aayog with respect to cap of 2 airports with respect to every private entity and also with respect to prior experience with respect to such private entities for airport privatization. So basically, the key recommendations which were rejected by the Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee were with respect to requirement of prior experience in operation and management of airports as well as with respect to providing total project cost upfront for each airport, as this would have helped to better determine the financial capabilities of interested players. So based on the recommendation of the appraisal committee, the Union Cabinet dated 3rd July 2019 approved the proposal for leasing out 3 airports through public-private partnership. These 3 airports were namely Ahmedabad, Lucknow and Mangaluru. The cabinet note read that the Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has approved the proposal for leasing out of 3 airports through public-private partnership to the highest bidder, that is Adani Enterprises Limited, as Adani Enterprises Limited quoted the highest bid for these airports for operation, management and development under public-private partnership for a lease period of 50 years as per the terms and conditions of the bidding documents. So we understand that this particular news had a backdrop of 2 cabinet notes. First dated 8th November 2018 and the second dated 3rd July 2019. Now in this backdrop, let us understand the benefits of involving private players with respect to development of our airports. Now as you can see, it says that public-private partnership in infrastructure projects brings efficiency in service delivery, expertise, enterprise as well as professionalism apart from harnessing the needed investments in the public sector. So these can be said to be some of the benefits with respect to bringing efficiency in service delivery, expertise, enterprise as well as professionalism. Further, it also helps in harnessing or getting the needed investment in infrastructure projects with respect to public sector. It further highlights that inclusion of these private players in investment projects also results in enhanced revenues or increased revenues. So it also helps in increasing the revenue of the government. And this enhanced revenue leads to further investment by the government or by the Airport Authority of India in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. So, an enhanced revenue of the Airport Authority of India enables the Airport Authority of India to invest more in Tier 2 in Tier 3 cities, not only with respect to related infrastructure, but this entire process also helps in job creation. It further highlights that investment by private players has brought world class infrastructure at airports in India and has also enhanced the timely delivery of services with respect to airport passengers. And this timely delivery of services has helped to increase or augment revenue stream of the Airport Authority of India. So basically, timely delivery of services has also helped in improving or augmenting the revenue of the Airport Authority of India. Now, another important aspect highlighted in this news is that presently the airports being managed under the public private partnership model includes the airports of Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Cochin. So, it is in this perspective that the government of India is trying to include more private players with respect to handling the operation, management, and development of these airports under the public private partnership. Now, the inclusion of these private players has improved the status of Indian airports internationally. It says that the public private partnership airports in India have been ranked among the top 5 in their respective categories by the Airport Council International in terms of airport service quality. So the inclusion of private players has not only improved the delivery of service at airport but has also helped in making these airports one of the top 5 in their respective categories and thereby has helped their rankings. It further highlights that improved revenues of the Airport Authority of India has not only helped it in focusing on development of other airports but has also helped in developing a air navigation infrastructure in the rest of the country. So these can be said to be some of the benefits with respect to involving private players in development of our airports. So basically, involvement of private players not only increases efficiency with respect to service delivery, but it also improves expertise, enterprise, and professionalism of airports. Further, this improved delivery of service further helps in augmenting the revenue of Airport Authority of India. Now, involving these private players also helps in creating or getting more investments in the infrastructure projects, especially in the public sector. And this further helps in increasing the revenue of the government and also helps in building infrastructure with respect to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities airports. And overall, all these investments and infrastructural projects ultimately helps in job creation in the economy. So these can be said to be some of the benefits involving private players in airport developments. Now this topic in your prelims examination becomes a part of economic development and your mains gets covered under GS paper 3 specifically with respect to infrastructure developments with respect to airports. Now after our discussion, this forms your practice question for the day. It says, highlight the important steps which needs to be taken by the Government of India to improve overall condition of civil aviation sector in India. Now in this question, you can add these dimensions in your answer writing, especially with respect to need for improvement in aviation infrastructure. Here you can highlight about the need for a public-private partnership model. Further, you can highlight about need for an increase in investment and also the need for a financial and infrastructural support. Next, you can address the shortage of skilled manpower, promotion of air cargo growth, easing of regulatory environment with respect to airports, and also with respect to prioritization of aviation safety. So you can write your answer by highlighting these important aspects which needs to be taken care of with respect to improving the overall condition of the civil aviation sector in India. So with this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news also appears on page number 1 and this news is about Zojila Pass. Now the Zojila Pass is one of the most important mountain passes in India. The pass lies between Leh in the western Himalayan mountain ranges as well as Srinagar on the Indian National Highway 1D. So basically the Zojila Pass connects Srinagar and Leh. Now this topic of Zojila Pass becomes important with respect to Indian geography as question based on these passes can be asked in your prelims examination. From Sonmarg in Jammu and Kashmir, the distance of this Zojila Pass is around 9 km. And this Zojila Pass functions as a major link between Ladakh and Kashmir. Now, the Zojila Pass mostly remains closed during the winter months. The Beacon Force Division of Border Roads Organization is responsible for removal of snow and preservation of path during winter months. The location and altitude of Zojila Pass at 11,578 feet makes it one of the most strategic locations in India, as this pass is most critical for the entire Kargil sector, which has seen intrusion and war in the past. Further, in the first war between India and Pakistan over Jammu and Kashmir, Zojila Pass was also involved, as Zojila Pass was captured by Pakistani aggressors and Indian forces gained control of the Zojila Pass in a military operation codenamed Operation Bison. So we understand that Zojila Pass has great military as well as strategic importance. So in this aspect, you must know not only about the strategic location of Zojila Pass but also the area which it connects. Now, as we have seen that the Zojila Pass remains closed for most of the time during winter, hence the government of India has proposed a Zojila tunnel, which shall be Asia's longest and strategic bi-directional tunnel. As you can see in this picture, the Zojila tunnel will make it easier to travel from Srinagar to Leh. The key features of the Zojila tunnel includes the fact that it is the longest bi-directional single tube road tunnel in Asia, having a length of 14.15 kilometers. It shall be open on all days and shall be an all-weather accessibility. That is, it can be accessed in all weather conditions. It further says that this tunnel shall be built at Zojila Pass on Srinagar Kargil Leh NH1 highway, situated at an altitude of 11,578 feet. An entire cost of the project would be around 6,809 crores. Important aspect with respect to this tunnel is that it will reduce time taken to cross Zojila Pass from present 3 hours and 30 minutes to only 15 minutes. So this becomes an important aspect with respect to improving connectivity of the region. Now this provision talks about the impact of this particular tunnel. It says that the main objective of the project is to provide all-weather connectivity to strategically important Leh region in Jammu and Kashmir, as this particular Leh region as of now, because of the snowfall, remains unaccessed during the winter months. It says that at moment this Leh region is limited to at best 6 months of connectivity because of snow on the passes and threat of avalanches. So this particular tunnel will help in providing an all-weather connectivity irrespective of the surrounding climate. Further, it says that the project, along with other ongoing projects like the 6-kilometer long Z-More tunnel at Gagangir, would ensure safe, fast and cheap connectivity between the two regions of Kashmir and Ladakh. So basically the idea is to connect Kashmir and Ladakh region. It further highlights that this tunnel will help in increasing employment potential for the local people, that is for the local laborers as well as for project activities. And the project on its completion would lead to enormous boost in employment, as the local businesses will get linked to the national market through this particular tunnel because of the round the year traffic connectivity. Further, it will help in creating employment in most of the sectors at multiple levels. So these can be said to be the impact of this particular tunnel, which is very important both strategically as well as economically. Thus, in this particular news, you must know about the location of Zojila Pass and also about Operation Bison. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news appears on page number 9 in the magazine section. Now in this news, there are few things which we must remember. First is with respect to Dhavala manuscripts. Now you must remember that Dhavala manuscript is with respect to Jain teachings. Now this news highlights about an institute which preserves these manuscripts. The name of the institute is Intact Chitrakala Parishad Art Conservation Center. And this particular center will celebrate its 25 years of existence. And this Intact Chitrakala Parishad Art Conservation Center has also recommended for scientific conservation of these Dhavala manuscripts, which have been mostly found on palm trees. Now, this news highlights the importance of scientific conservation of these old manuscripts. It says that conservation is like forensic art, and in this forensic art, they try to decipher not only the materials used in the scripture but also the anatomy of the surface along with the age of the painting. It says that these all are deciphered using technology. It further highlights an important aspect. It mentions that it is easier to estimate the age of a European painting because there is ample documentation. However, it becomes difficult with respect to Indian manuscripts or Indian paintings, as it says that the Indian context is harder because ancient art was mostly religious and anonymous. For example, the Chola bronze, as this ancient art, used traditional material and methodology. And this use of ancient art and methodology makes scientific conservation of these age-old materials, including manuscripts and paintings, becomes extremely difficult. So this particular institution, which is celebrating its 25 years of existence, is also about to conserve Shatkandagama, which is one of the oldest Digambara Jain texts. So in this backdrop, you must remember that Dhavala manuscripts are with respect to Jain teachings. Now, another important aspect as highlighted in this news is that ICPAC has been declared as a manuscript conservation center, and the head estimates that the center has preserved about 20,000 manuscripts so far from the 11th century Dhavala manuscripts that contain the teachings of Jainism to India's only existing copy of Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is housed in the Oriental Research Institute in Mysuru. So we understand that conservation of these old Indian manuscripts and paintings becomes an extremely difficult task. Now this year, a question was asked with respect to paintings from the Mughal era. The question, however, was very indirect. The question asked in the prelims of 2019 was, who among the following Mughal emperors shifted emphasis from illustrated manuscripts to album and individual portrait? Options were Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan. In this, the correct answer was Jahangir. So we understand that these manuscripts, paintings, and even portraits have been asked either directly or indirectly by UPSC. Hence, in this aspect, to know about Dhavala manuscripts becomes extremely important from our examination perspective. Now, in prelims examination, this topic gets covered under Indian history. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news appears on page number 9. The news says Center to launch Deep Ocean Mission in October. And this Deep Ocean Mission is with respect to finding polymetallic nodules, as it will help to meet our energy requirement. So basically, this particular news is with respect to Deep Ocean Mission of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, as primarily it will help in finding polymetallic nodules. Further, the Deep Ocean Mission will also help the scientists to explore the deepest part of the ocean. And this project, namely Deep Ocean Mission, has finally received the green signal from the government, and it will begin from 31st October 2019. Now, important point to be noted is that a major thrust of this mission is to explore deepest part of the ocean, including finding metals and minerals. And this also includes finding the polymetallic nodules. Now, in your prelims examination, this topic forms a part of current events of national importance as well as part of general science, whereas in your mains, it gets covered under GS paper 3, specifically with respect to developments in science and technology and also achievement of Indians in science and technology. Now, important projects under Deep Ocean Mission includes setting up an offshore desalination plants that will work with tidal energy, developing a submarine that can go to a depth of at least 6,000 meters with 3 people on board, and also to explore polymetallic nodules. Now, these polymetallic nodules are rounded accretion of manganese and iron hydroxides which cover vast area of sea floor. As mentioned, these polymetallic nodules form through aggregation of layers of iron and manganese hydroxides around a central particle such as a shell or a small rock fragment. As you can see in this picture, These polymetallic nodules appears something like these on the sea floor. Now the size of these polymetallic nodules ranges from certain millimeters to few centimeters. Now growth of these polymetallic nodules is extremely slow and they grow roughly at a rate of millimeters per million years. Now another point to be noted is that composition of these nodules varies with their environment of formation. So in addition to iron and manganese, they also contain nickel, copper as well as cobalt. And nickel, copper and cobalt appears in commercially attractive concentrations or in high concentrations which is capable of commercial exploitation. Further, apart from these minerals, the polymetallic nodules also comprises of molybdenum, zirconium as well as rare earth metals. Now it is said that if Indian government is able to lay hands over 10% of these polymetallic nodules, then we will be able to solve our energy needs for the next 100 years. So we can understand the commercial significance of these polymetallic nodules. So in this aspect, it becomes extremely important for you to understand about these polymetallic nodules with respect to your UPSC examination, as it has great significance. Now in this backdrop, let us also learn the history with respect to exploration of these polymetallic nodules by the Indian scientists. Now it says that the program on polymetallic nodules was initiated at CSIR-NIO. And CSIR-NIO refers to Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and National Institute of Oceanography. So it says that the program on polymetallic nodules was initiated at CSIR-NIO, that is National Institute of Oceanography, with the collection of first nodule sample from Arabian Sea, and this was done on board the first research vessel named Gaveshani on 26th of January 1981. So we understand that the first exploration of polymetallic nodule was carried on in the year 1981. It further states that India is the first country to have received the status of a pioneer investor in 1987, and based on this status, India was allocated an exclusive area in the Central Indian Ocean Basin by United Nations for exploration and utilization of nodules. So the government of India received the status of pioneer investor with respect to polymetallic nodules based on extensive survey, exploration as well as environmental studies, technology development in mining and extractive metallurgy, in which significant contributions were made by Indian scientists. So based on these significant contributions in the field of extensive survey, exploration, environmental studies, technological development in mining and extractive metallurgy by the Indian scientists, Government of India became the first country to receive the status of pioneer investor in 1987. Further, the scientists of CSIR and NIO carried on their research with respect to polymetallic nodules, leading to allocation of an area around 1,50,000 square kilometer to the country with exclusive rights under the United Nations Law of the Sea, that is UNCLOS. So we understand that because of the extensive contribution by Indian scientists in exploring polymetallic nodules, they were allotted an area of roughly around 1,50,000 square kilometer with respect to such exploration of polymetallic nodules. Now another significant aspect highlighted here is that in August 2017, India's exclusive right to explore polymetallic nodules from seabed in Central Indian Ocean Basin have been further extended by 5 years, and these rights have been provided over an area of 75,000 square kilometer of area in international waters allocated by International Seabed Authority for developmental activities for polymetallic nodules. So this again becomes a significant development for India with respect to exploration of polymetallic nodules. Now it says that the estimated polymetallic nodules is around 380 million tons, of which 4.7 million tons is that of nickel, 4.2 million tons is that of copper, and 0.55 million tons is that of cobalt, and 92.59 million tons is of manganese. So these are some of the rough estimate to be found in the sea floor with respect to polymetallic nodules. and India's exclusive right to explore polymetallic nodules further from seabed in Central Indian Ocean Basin for another 5 years was unanimously approved in the 23rd session of International Seabed Authority, which concluded in August 2017 at Kingston in Jamaica. So these are some of the facts related to exploration of polymetallic nodules by India. Hence, in this entire backdrop, Deep Ocean Mission of Ministry of Earth Science becomes extremely significant with respect to exploring about polymetallic nodules. Now, the next news appears on page number 16 and 17 of the magazine section. It says, as old as the hills. With a 14-year World Heritage tag, the 111-year-old Nilgiri Mountain Railway is the grand dame of toy trains. Now, this news is with respect to the Nilgiri Railways as well as about Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. So, in this news analysis, you must understand about the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve as well as the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, which becomes a part of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. As in 2019, a similar question was asked by UPSC. Now, this Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve can be found along three states, namely Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, as well as Kerala. Now, it says that the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve was declared as a biosphere reserve under the Man and Biosphere Program of UNESCO. Further, this is a mega diversity hotspot and it covers part of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka, as already discussed. Further, it has an indigenous population of around 2 lakh people and over 30 indigenous groups. Further, it says that large population of endemic species in plants and animals and birds are found in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. That is, such species which are not found anywhere else. Now, this topic of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserves as well as list of other biosphere reserves were covered in the Prelims Compass of 2019 under the Environment and Geography section. It mentions that Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve is included in the Man and Biosphere Program of UNESCO, as has already been mentioned. It further highlights that within the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserves, you can also find part of Wayanad, Nagarhole, Bandipur, and Mandumulai, Nilambur, Silent Valley, as well as Siruvani Hills in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. With respect to flora, it says that it mostly has tropical forest, mixed mountain, and highland systems. With respect to fauna, it is highlighted about tiger, elephant, Nilgiri Thar, lion-tailed macaque. And with respect to tribals, it mentions about Chola Naikans, which is the only surviving hunter-gatherers of Indian subcontinent. So these information with respect to Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve become extremely important to understand from a prelims perspective. Now these are the following wildlife sanctuaries and national parks which comes within the range of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. These are Nagarhole National Park, which is located in Karnataka, Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, located in Kerala, Silent Valley National Park, again located in Kerala, Madhumulai Wildlife Sanctuary, it is located in the northwestern corner of Nilgiri Plateau in Tamil Nadu, Mukurthi National Park, which is located in the southeastern corner of Nilgiri Plateau in Tamil Nadu, and Bandipur National Park, which is located at the convergence of eastern and western Ghats in Karnataka. So we understand that within a biosphere reserve, there can be various national park and wildlife sanctuaries which can be found. Now I have told you this particular information because of this particular question asked in the prelims of 2019. Now the question read, which of the following are in Agastmalya Biosphere Reserve? In this, the correct answer was A. Option A says Neyar, Peppara and Shendurni Wildlife Sanctuaries and Kalakad Mundanthurai Tiger Reserve. So these can be found under the Agastmalya Biosphere Reserve. Hence, in this, the correct answer was A. So with respect to this particular question of UPSC of 2019, you must also know the various national park and wildlife sanctuaries which is presented within Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Now another important aspect to be noted is with respect to Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, Nilgiri Mountain Railway and Kalka Shimla Railway, as these three railways have been collectively designated as UNESCO World Heritage Site under the name of Mountain Railways of India. It further mentions that the fourth railway, that is the Mathiran Railway, is on a tentative list of UNESCO World Heritage Site. So let's wait and watch whether the Mathiran Hill Railway in Maharashtra is accepted as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It further highlights that all these four railways are narrow gauge railways and the Nilgiri Mountain Railway is the only rack railway in India. So all these again becomes an important point from your prelims perspective. Thus, this particular news becomes extremely important from your prelims point of view, especially with respect to Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 14 and this is about zero budget natural farming. Now, basically, it says that zero budget natural farming is a method of chemical free agriculture drawing from traditional Indian practices. And this was originally promoted by Maharashtrian agriculturist and Padma Shri recipient Subhash Palekar. And he developed this concept of zero budget natural farming as an alternative to green revolution's methods driven by chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So basically, he argued that rising cost of these external inputs was a leading cause of indebtedness and suicide among farmers. So he argued that because of increasing use of chemical fertilizers, whose cost was high, that was leading to increasing indebtedness of the farmers, and thereby this was leading to their suicide. So basically, he argued to practice agriculture without the use of chemical fertilizers. So he mentions that without the need to spend money on these inputs, that is chemical fertilizers, or take loans to buy them, the cost of production could be reduced and farming could be made into a zero budget exercise. So basically, he mentions about the concept of zero budget on the basis of loan taken from the government with respect to using these chemical fertilizers whose price is quite high. So basically, he mentions that if a farmer does not buy these chemical fertilizers, then there would be reduced cost in his agricultural practices, thereby leading to a zero budget in his farming practice. And this will help many farmers, including small farmers, to break away from the debt cycle. Now, this concept of zero budget natural farming was mentioned in the budget speech of 17th Lok Sabha, where the finance minister highlighted the need to get back to the basics approach, that is, without the use of chemical fertilizers. She mentioned that we need to replicate this innovative model through which, in few states, farmers are already being trained in this particular practice. She said that steps such as zero budget natural farming can help in doubling our farmers' income in time for our 75th year of independence. So you must understand that this mention of zero budget natural farming in the budget speech of finance minister is also related to doubling of our farmers' income. Now, Subhash Palekar, who developed zero budget natural farming, identified four aspects that were critical or integral to this entire process and which require locally available materials. They are seeds treated with cow dung and urine, soil regenerated with cow dung, cow urine, and other local materials to increase microbes, cover crops, straw, and other organic matter to retain soil moisture in order to build humus, as well as soil aeration for favorable soil conditions. And these methods are combined with natural insect management methods wherever required. So these are basics with respect to zero budget natural farming. Now, this concept of zero budget natural farming also becomes important because of increasing indebtedness of our farmers. It says that as per a National Sample Survey Office survey, almost 70% of agricultural households spends more than what they actually earn, and more than half of all farmers are in debt. It mentions few examples with respect to states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. It says that in states such as Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, levels of indebtedness are around 90%, which is extremely high, where each household bears an average debt of rupees 1 lakh. Now, an average debt of rupees 1 lakh for a small and marginal farmers is a very huge amount, and it becomes very essential for the government to take steps so that these farmers can come out of their debt cycle. So it is in this aspect that this article highlights that the zero budget natural farming will help these farmers to come out of this debt cycle. Further, as already highlighted, the central government has promised to double farmers' income by 2022. And one aspect which is being considered in order to achieve this target is with respect to natural farming methods such as zero budget natural farming, as it reduces farmers' dependence on loans to purchase inputs which they cannot afford. So the whole idea is to reduce dependence on loan in order to have the inputs necessary for farming. Further, this also suggests for other alternative methods such as intercropping methods, as it increases yield and also results in increased returns. It further highlights that even the economic survey has highlighted certain ecological advantages with respect to this zero budget natural farming. However, to double farmers' income is an extremely challenging task for the government. So, the government must actually announce the exact steps which it intends to take with respect to zero budget natural farming. So, the news in this aspect highlights that despite the buzz created with respect to zero budget natural farming, the finance minister did not actually announce any new funding to promote this particular concept. As last year, the center has revised norms for Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana remunerative approaches for agriculture and allied sector rejuvenation, that is RKVY Raftar. And this RKVY Raftar is a flagship green revolution scheme with an allocation of rupees 3745 crore this year. Along with this, there is a Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, where the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana is meant to promote organic farming and soil health. So basically, under the revised guidelines, both centrally sponsored schemes now allow states to use their funds to promote zero budget natural farming, Vedic farming, as well as natural farming, cow farming, and a host of other traditional methods. So the whole idea is two prongs. First, to reduce the indebtedness of farmers, and second, to increase the return with respect to their output. Now, this idea is also supported by NITI Aayog, but its experts have also warned that various studies at different locations in the country are needed in order to scientifically validate the long term impact and viability of this model before it can be scaled up on a national level. It further highlights that the Indian Council of Agricultural Research is presently studying this method with respect to zero budget natural farming practiced with respect to basmati and wheat farmers in Modipuram in Uttar Pradesh, Ludhiana in Punjab, Pantnagar in Uttarakhand, and Kurukshetra in Haryana. And they're also evaluating the impact on productivity, economics, and soil health, including soil organic carbon and soil fertility. So we understand that the government has to come out with a concrete plans so that the farmers can get actual benefit with respect to zero budget natural farming. Now this topic of zero budget natural farming has also been covered in the Daily News Simplified dated 7 July 2019. Further, this news was also covered in the DNS of last year dated 21st June 2018. So we understand that this topic of zero budget natural farming becomes extremely important from an examination perspective. Now this topic in your prelims examination forms a part of economic development, and your mains get covered under GS paper 3, specifically with respect to Indian economy, inclusive growth, as well as government budgeting. Now after our discussion, this forms your practice question for mains. It says zero budget natural farming is being vigorously promoted by Indian government without any scientific studies or proof on its impact on increased productivity of crops. Critically examine. I hope after this discussion you will be able to attempt this particular question on mains. Now after our discussion, these forms your practice question for the day. What you can do is to take a pause of 5 seconds. The first question says, which of the following can be said to be the benefits of involving private entities in infrastructural development? Options are increased efficiency in delivery of services, yes. Second, increase in government revenue, yes. Third, decrease in unemployment, yes. In this, all the three statements are correct. Hence, the correct answer is D, that is 1, 2, and 3. Second question says, consider the following statements. Zojila Pass connects Kashmir and Leh region. Yes, the statement is correct. Second, it is situated along Indian National Highway 4D. No, this is incorrect as it is situated along Indian National Highway 1D. Third, the government has proposed to build an all-weather Zojila tunnel for increased connectivity. Yes, the statement is also correct. So in this, C becomes the correct answer. Question number 3 says, Dhavala manuscripts can be associated with which of the following? Options are Jain, Christians, Parsi and Baha'i. In this, A is the correct answer as it can be associated with Jain teachings. Now practice question number 4 says, Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve can be found along. Options are Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka and Maharashtra. In this, Maharashtra is the incorrect option. So here D becomes the correct answer. With this, we come to an end to discussion of today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.